Hello and welcome everyone to a brand new episode of A Room of Our Own. Our guest today is my old primary school classmate, Aman. She's a software developer in Hong Kong with a passion for traveling and crafting, which she shares with the world on her Instagram page at Adventures with Aman. So, we're going to learn about her journey into software development as a career. Now, software development is not a new field, but it has steadily grown into one of the most sought after skill and career in the last few years. And Hong Kong, which is the city where I'm from and which is where Aman resides, it's an international city with nationalities from all over the world and opportunities in abundance. But these opportunities, until very recently, were not very accessible to the South Asian community and South Asian students studying in Hong Kong's largely segregated education system. So we just had a few extra barriers to break before we could set out on our own personal journey to stable and successful careers. So I'm all too eager to learn from Aman how she embarked on her journey into software development, because in Hong Kong, oftentimes we are expected to simply go into teaching and specifically teaching English, or teachers just don't have that much confidence in us to go and actually enter universities or enter any number of careers that are out there. We're stereotypically confined to English teachings, construction, security, hospitality, and other type of jobs that are not really what an individual would really like to do. So hopefully this podcast episode will give an inspiration to people to go outside of the box, remove the labels, remove the stereotypes, remove all the societal, parental expectations that we sort of take on, and just do what we really want to do, what is really natural to our instincts and our talents. And yeah, hopefully you'll get that bit of courage from this episode. So hope you enjoy. And just before we start the episode, you will notice that after the introduction, after Aman's introduction, there will be a sudden shift into conversation. That's because me and Aman, we just started talking and we kind of forgot to do the introduction. So the introductions happened like 10 minutes after we started. So yeah, it's going to be a bit choppy, but I'll try to make it as smooth as possible and you won't really miss much. So yeah, enjoy, and please don't forget to comment and just send me messages and tell me what you think about the podcast episode. Thanks. Yeah. So, hi, Aman. Thank you for coming on the podcast. I wanted to invite you because, I've been really just lurking and looking at your life online, because we are old primary school mates, but we've never really connected more than that. So I'm just really curious because everything that I'm seeing you achieve and seeing you do is really impressive, and I just want to know more about how you did it. Basically, I'm seeing a lot of people from our batch doing a lot of amazing things, not just our batch, but just the whole Islamic primary school, whether people in our years or below and above us. So yeah, would you like to just tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, and yeah.
Sure. This starts. I've only done this on interview, so I think that's how it's gonna go. But I'm
No
Aman.
worries.
I am an Indian. I live in Hong Kong, and of course, we went to Islamic primary school together, and then I went to another school where I was also around our people. Eventually, during my final years in high school, I decided I wanted to study software development. I went to that's what I did. I got a degree in computer science, and now I've been graduated for 3 years, I think. And I've had 3 years of working experience in this field. I'm working as a programmer, and sometimes I build websites, sometimes I'm maintaining systems. So there's a lot of different things that I do on my different jobs I've done so far. It's been fun. And that's where I am right now. I'm just like at 3 years past like graduation. I've done the degree. I've gotten the job. It's like now I'm just enjoying the time to. I travel a few times a year because that's like something I've always wanted to do. So that I'm just enjoying the time right now. So I think that's what I would introduce myself as. Yeah. I'm taking a break and enjoying the period where everything is like going smoothly, and eventually I'll probably start setting like new goals and see where I want to go further, like in the future.
Yeah.
It's good.
Well, that sounds interesting, and I think I could um like talk about, how do you like set goals and then, achieve them, because I think a lot of people want to do that, where they want to like build the life that they want, but either they don't know how to set goals, or they don't know how to reach those goals, whether it's personal or professional. So I'm glad to hear that, you feel like you're in a good place, because not a lot of people feel like that. But I'm really happy that you did that. Like you didn't just wait around or complain or do anything. You just went and achieved your goals.
Thank
Yeah,
you. Yeah, I
no
think
worries.
it's just those goals everyone has in like high school. I didn't really have goals beyond like getting the job I want, or like go finishing a degree. I didn't have like very maybe like goals for my 30s or 40s. It was just like, oh, by like by in my 20s, this is what I want to do. And I wanted to like
Mm.
complete a degree. I wanted to get a job that is like stable and well paid, and I wanted to travel. I think those were like some of my goals, and I'm glad I'm doing those. And it does, like, once you achieve them, it does feel like, okay, now what? Like, I think I'm at that phase, but like it's still fun to um it's still fun. Like, it's like there's a lot of time. I have a lot of energy, and it's like now whatever goal I have, I can focus on it, because everything else is like the important things are settled. So that's where I am. And I think with the goals about like getting a job or like degrees, those, it's not, for me, it wasn't like there's a choice in not achieving them. It was more like, oh, that's what I want to do, that's what I have to do, and I just kept thinking about it and kept aiming for it. My mom always said that, you know if there's something you want to do, you think about it, you aim towards it, and you run towards it, and the rest, like, you can't just like pray to God and then sit there. You have to actually take action and run towards something, and hopefully it'll be yours one day. So that's what that's the mindset I've always had. I would always pray and hope and have, like, kind of manifest and think about the life I want, and then I just work towards it and hope I got here because of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I really believe in that whole you pray for it, and you believe in it, and you believe in God or whatever
Yeah.
you believe in, that uh, that divine is going to help you.
Yeah.
But to pray and then just sit there and not really do anything because you're like, oh, if it's meant for me, it's going to
Yeah.
happen. It's kind of a very passive way of
Yeah.
living, and
I don't
I
believe in
don't
that
think.
either.
No,
Yeah.
I don't believe in that. I think you have a lot of how do you say, hand in how you write your destiny.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
there are things you certainly cannot change, like life and death kind of things. There are things you don't understand about life that happens in life, that there's no sense in trying to make sense about those things. You just carry on with what is in your control. Um, there is a prayer that I really like. I heard it once in a show, and then now I just repeat to myself, and it goes like, "Dear God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. Grant me the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference between the two."
That's
So
a
I'm just
really
like,
nice.
that's that. Yeah, that's
That's a really
amazing.
nice
That's
quote.
just all I need. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think we do tend to fixate too much on the outcome, whether it's going to be like a failure or a success, and that kind of
Yeah.
brings a lot of anxiety and makes you feel stuck. You're Personally, I also have problems with making decisions. I'm always like
Oh
doubting
my
my
God,
whether
that's just like me.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm always like, oh, is this really the degree I was supposed to do? Like, it's always there's always some
Yeah.
kind of doubt. But I think I've learned over the years that like the outcome is not really in my control, but the process is, and that's also a journey, and that's all. There's also a lot to learn in that journey, and hopefully, whatever the outcome is, I'm satisfied with it regardless. And if I'm not, I'll just try again, right? So it's like
Mm.
there's no end, like no end for anything. You can just keep trying, and you can keep failing, and you can keep discovering yourself on the way and trying it in a new way. So I think that's like the mindset you have to have instead of like just fixating
Yeah.
on one, like the success or failure or something.
Yeah, I think I'm just in in the process of trying to learn that, like you said, the outcome is not in my control. The process is, and while I do understand the things that there are the difference between things we can change, things we cannot, I think I'm just starting to learn that. And the thing you said about being frozen when we're trying to make a decision, because we're thinking, how long is this going to take? Am I going to lose my way? Am I able to do this? Or we just kind of have all those anxieties, where then it just sets us there in freezed mode. But it does take a bit of, not a bit, but a lot of courage to kind of go, it's okay if things go wrong, things go wrong, but I'll still do this.
Yeah.
um and I guess a lot of us, um coming from sort of immigrant backgrounds, we do have a bit more fear, because we kind of think, this is it, like if I mess up here, a lot other things, like a domino effect, will have a will go wrong. So it's like an extra step or two for us to take, where we have to be, where we have to convince ourselves that we're not responsible for XYZ. We're only responsible for ourselves and what we can do and what we can control.
And
Yeah.
I do feel that a lot of the times, I'm not saying that there's no challenges externally. Of course, there's challenges externally, and things are hard. Some things are harder to achieve. Some things have more blockade. Like it's harder for certain people to achieve them. But I feel like a lot of the times, there's more mental blockages that we are putting for ourselves rather than there are external ones. I feel like if we believe we can do something and we don't, like sometimes it's just you personally, you think that's something you can't do, you have that belief inside you that you don't really think you can achieve it, and that actually affects the outcome way more than anything external does. So I think it's really
Yeah.
you have to have like that mental a grit, I guess, where you're like, oh no, this is something I can do, and this is something I can achieve, I deserve it, I am worthy of it. And not have that, it's hard. I also had like imposter syndrome many times too, but you have to really like jump over it, and then just focus on the external things, see if you like, rather than blocking yourself mentally.
Yeah. So you said you were in high school when you decided software development. So how did you come to that decision? Because I think a lot of people in that time are not very sure, unless they do engineering, law, and medicine, they're not really sure where to go. So how did you decide?
Actually, when I was like in Form 3, we kind of have to pick the electives in Hong Kong, where you decide which area you want to study. And I think technology felt like new to me. I think compared to anything else, everything else, I feel like sciences have always been there, and technology just felt like a newer subject that I haven't really learned more. Like I didn't really know a lot about, but it was like, oh, it's advancing, and there's a lot of it happening around me. So that's something I was interested in. And I think during the elective, I had this one project where I touched a bit upon coding. We had this project where we had to set up a really simple, like really basic website where we had like a home page, a about page, and maybe a few more pages, five to six pages, and it was like a whole new world. I couldn't, yeah, yeah. Basically, I was like doing this coding project in high school, and then it just blew my mind how just writing like one line of text made the computer understand what I wanted and show exactly that on the screen. Like I just couldn't grasp the concept behind writing down, oh, I want a red button, and then a red button appearing. And the fact that it's all done in like binary numbers, in zeros and ones, it was just like, it was mind blowing. I didn't understand like how that worked, and I just really needed to understand that. I was like, I need to know how this works. I need to like get behind the details of it. I So that's when I kind of decided if I wanted to do a degree, a 4-year degree in something, I think this would be something that would keep me like on my toes and keep challenging me, and also like giving me new information about something I have no idea about. I think I was encouraged by some of my teachers to take English as a major, and of course I like, it's not like a language, like it's not something I don't like, but it just, there's no element of surprise, there's no element of like new. It's, I feel like it's,
I would beg to differ, but sure, you carry on.
I think it's something I could do like on my own. Like if I was interested
Yeah,
enough,
okay. No, I mean, the thing about your teachers encouraging you to do English major, that's like the story of every ethnic
Yeah.
minority in Hong Kong. They just push you towards
Yeah.
English and nothing else.
And
Yeah.
it's for them to push you towards it, it's not because of anything else. They just want you to become a teacher that teaches English.
Yeah.
Like that's the only career path they kind of see for you. And that was not, that did not sound like something I could sit through for 4 years, because it's different to do English in general. It's different to do English as an educational, like, in educational sense, they just teach you how to teach, So it's
Yeah.
different. Yeah. I feel like I would not have.
And it's not something you want to
enjoyed it.
do.
Yeah, it's not something I
Yeah.
wanted to do. I feel like if I wanted to, because being a teacher had always been on my mind. I enjoy teaching in general. It doesn't have to be English. I enjoy teaching. And I think in primary school, that was the career path I wanted to take, because I loved like Miss Kwok and Mr. Chong, and I loved how the way they like control the class and the way they taught. And I was like, that's what I want to do.
Well,
Like,
I wouldn't say, I wouldn't say Mr. Chong ever controlled the class, but yeah.
But it was fun. Like you were learning, and it was fun. I think that's what I wanted to. Yeah, I was like, I want to be the fun teacher and all that. So I think that was always on my mind as well. So I think at the end, I was deciding between these two, and I think I came to like a middle ground with the fact that for full time and for my degree, I do want to continue with tech. And with teaching, I still do it on the weekends, because it's just something I enjoy. And yeah, I take some time out at the weekends to teach private classes or go to like schools and teach English, because I just enjoy it. So it's like, you don't have to pick one or the other. If you really want to do both, you can do both. You just have to balance it out. Yeah, I think that project was really the main thing that got me interested in tech. And then I just decided I wanted to figure out why it works. Like, why does typing like one line make it create a website or a button? How does the computer like understand? It was also like a new language. I've always been like interested in learning different languages, and this was like a whole new world for me. So yeah, then that's what I decided to do. I put it on my A1. Like, when you do JUPAS, you have choices, and you have like A1, 2, 3, it's like your top 3 choices. My teachers kept being like, oh, put it on A2, English on A1. So like, but I was like, no, this is what I want to do. I put it on A1 and I got in directly. Yeah, that was the story of how it started. But there were many like points of like doubt, many points of doubt throughout it. But I'm glad it like turned out well. Hopefully, it will continue to turn out well.
Yeah. It really is a new language. Like I use it. I'm not a software developer at any level, but we do use a bit of HTML and a bit of CSS in our work, and it is like speaking a
Yeah.
different language to the computer. It is the computer's language, and you're speaking to the thing in its language. And yeah, so people who are not familiar with software development in general, or they may know some stereotypical things about
Yeah.
it, like coding and being nerdy and stuff. Do you want to like kind of explain what the field is, and what you do in it, and what the career paths are in it?
I would say software development is generally like development cycle. So like basically you design, you code, you test, and then you also maintain a software application. So whether it can be for anything. It can be for entertainment. It can be for productivity. It can be like generally a sales website that you make for like for users to come across. So there's many reasons you would make a website or a system, and software development is the whole cycle of start to finish, where you come up with an idea and the reasoning behind it, why you need something, and then you just do the whole thing. That's what software development is. And of course, because there's many steps in this cycle, all of the steps have a different field, a different mini field inside like development to get into. So some people go get into tech for design. They design the websites, they design how the button is going to look like. Some people get into it for coding, which means translating that design to something that actually works that you can click on. Some people do the testing part of it, where the whole website is done and now they're comparing the design and the code, and then they're testing whether it works, how it works. And then yeah, and there's like some project managers that are also in tech that face the clients and do the whole deliverable, oversee the whole thing and do the deliverable. I would say all of that is software development, and it really depends on what you're more into, and you can get into any of that. So the field is quite vast. There's different career paths you can take. It really depends on what you're interested in. It's not just coding. I think some people do have like that concept where they just think all you do is code, but there's a lot more behind the scenes with it. Yeah.
Right. And what do you do in your job, and what's your favorite part about software development?
For me, what I do is I do the coding part exactly. Like I'm the one who translates the design. I get the design and then I develop it into code. I also do maintenance. So like after, for some companies, they already have a product, and then you are the one who's like, there's like a phase two. You're adding features, you're removing features, you're like fixing the bugs. That's also something I do. At my previous jobs, I was working with a vendor company where we would make websites, apps, or systems for other companies that came in and told us what they wanted. So it was like a smaller cycle. Every 4 months, I was working on a new project. And maybe like every 4 months, I would have either a website to do, then like the next 4 months was for like app development, and there was systems. Now I'm working with Hospital Authority in Hong Kong, and then they have all the websites already set up. What I do is now I work with their budget planning system, where they plan the budget for the year and do projection for the next year. And basically, what the system does it gets input from different users and shows reports to the seniors. So that's what essentially I think it does, but there's a lot more behind it. So yeah, that's what I'm working on now. We usually like it's the same. If there's already a project, so what I do is I add features if there's a need for it. I fix any bugs if there's a need for it. I'm doing the maintenance of this project.
This is your second job after you graduated?
Uh,
Like your second,
this is my third one. I've done
third one?
yeah. This is my third one. I've done two more. I worked
Yeah.
at a startup in the beginning, and that was interesting. And then I went to a more medium-sized company, which I really liked. I enjoyed my time there. I loved it. And for like now, I'm working at Hospital Authority. It's way more stable,
Yeah.
so it's like what you prioritize at different times. So
Yeah. Yeah. So you decided to do software development in high school. You went on to do a computer science degree. Now you're 3 years into your professional career. You spoke about doubts and imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
I feel like especially every uh, girl or young woman who graduates and goes into professional career experiences imposter syndrome, experiences doubt. I'm kind of having I'm kind of having sort of like a resistance towards this whole imposter syndrome kind of thinking, like, oh, I don't deserve to be here, I don't have what it takes, I've kind of like cheated my way in, or I kind of scammed people, and soon they're going to discover that I'm not as talented or as uh, capable. So, yeah, how did you manage those kind of feelings? What were they as they came along? And yeah, how did you break through them?
I think one main reason I might have had like these feelings is because I didn't know anyone in the field. So there's no when I was in like form 5 or form 6, and my teachers were telling me to take English as a major because it's already been done and tested and they know it works. And me arguing for it doing like tech is something even they were didn't have any resources or examples to give me about someone who's already done it and what they're doing. So it was really like that was the hard part. And like it's hard to have questions about a career path or have questions about a major and have no one answer them. Like basically there was no one, if I would have said if there was like another ethnic minority girl who has been through it all, and then she could have like answered a few questions, not really like I didn't need anything big. I just needed like, oh, is this stable, is this really something I can do, or is in Hong Kong do you really require like there's very basic questions that you have during your time in high school. Is it really what I expected to be? And there was no one to answer those questions. And I was always like, even the teachers around me, because they went to major education majors, so they didn't really have the experience in the career path itself. So there was no one I could contact and ask. And I was always like worried and doubting whether this is really the path for me and if I can do it without knowing anything about it. So it was that created a lot of doubt for me. And I think when I actually got in year 1, I think in year 1 they focus on foundational studies. So it's not really that much of coding itself. There's like, you have to take science subjects. I had to take biology, chemistry. I had to take M1, M2 discrete mathematics, and it was not really like actual code, like coding that I was expecting. And all those were like I've never been into science subjects that much, so like it was a struggle to like for the whole semester you're learning biology that you've never touched before. People were doing that for DSEs, and now I need to learn all this for the semester exam and all that. So it felt like a lot, and it felt like maybe I've done the wrong, like I've chosen the wrong thing to get into. And there was even doing the degree, there wasn't many people around me I could ask for help with. Like, of course, there's new subjects like I would face, and there were like like when you are code like you have coding projects. There's so many challenges you come across, and I'm also the first generation to go to a university from my family, so I didn't know what the experience was like. I didn't know if I could like just contact a professor and barge in and then ask him these random questions. I was like, I was just worried all the time. I was like, what am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing. I didn't even have friends in the same like major or in the same university even. So it was quite a struggle in the beginning. And then I used to like Google most of the questions, and what I would get, like I would get what like basic things. Yeah, it wasn't very
Yeah.
helpful in person, but there would be something that would like kind of keep me going. I think
Yeah.
I saw this thing where I was doing this one course where the professor was like really nice. He said he basically in the first lesson he goes, "Oh, you can find me anytime to talk about your uni life in general. Like it doesn't even have to be about the subject and all that." He was very open, and I just decided to go for it because I couldn't find what I wanted from anywhere. Like even all this doubt, I couldn't like my friends wouldn't really get it because they are not going through the same thing. I can't talk to my parents because they don't even understand what computer science is. Like, they were like, what are you doing? Why aren't you just teaching? Like, why didn't you just go into education? It's easy. What is computer science? What are you learning all this time? Like, they don't really understand because they never went to university. Tech was a whole new thing for them. So I don't think they didn't really grasp the concept, like what code, they don't really understand what coding is. They never did. So it was really hard to complain because for them it was like, why are you like suffering, like why are you going the hard route when there's so much easier, to do. So I was like, I have to find someone to talk about, and I kind of like mustered up the courage and went to that professor. And then he asked me what's up, and I was like, I don't feel like I just told. I was like already at the end of like my all the courage and grit I had. I was like, I don't think I deserve to be here. I didn't get good grades this year. I didn't. It's not what I expected. It's also because like throughout my high school and my primary school, I was like one of those students who was always topping. Like I always top in all of my exams. I'm always like, the teachers loved me. I was like the pet student. They used me as an example, and now I'm like getting B's and C's. Where's my A? I was like struggling. So I cried to him. I was like, I don't deserve to be here. I'm not. I don't think like this is my field. I think I don't. I just got in, but everyone else knows things, but I don't know anything and all that. And then he just said one thing to me that kind of like made me like the whole mindset shift. He was like, if you are here, if you are already here, that means you deserve to be here. You worked to be here just as much as anyone else did, and you are still here working hard at it. He's like, these exams you are taking, coding on paper or biology, these things are just found, like you just have to take them with your major. It's not something you might actually even use in your career. It's just a foundation they're setting for you. You might not do well in exams but still excel in coding, right? So he was like, in real life you don't really need to code on paper. You have like a computer, you can ask questions. You don't have to do any closed book tests. So it's reasonable if you struggle with that, because coding is a language that you are meant to trial and error in. Like, it's not like there's not like you can memorize it, right? You can memorize it, and there's not only one answer for anything. It's like something where there will be problems. There's multiple ways to solve them. So it's literally, it's a subject, and it's something that you have to be willing to experiment in and try new things and to get to the solution. So yeah, when he said that, oh, if you're already here, that means you deserve to be here. That like kind of gave me like that shifted my whole mentality about it. I was like, that's right. I did study to be here. I did get through the university examinations and entrance exams or whatever. I did meet all the requirements. So why am I like doubting myself? Why do I feel this imposter syndrome of not being good enough when I've already proved it? Like, I've already proved that I am deserving of this, right? So that helped me. I think I still struggled, of course, with the projects or with like the courses, because there was still like not much help. It was like male majority. It's a male majority subject, so it's not easy to like talk to people as much. It's also like a lot of people like don't approach you because they might think you don't know Cantonese. I have had that.
Mm.
I have had that experience a lot of times. I was in a group project, and then when I spoke Cantonese, they would be surprised, like, and they would be like, "Oh, I didn't talk to you since last year because I thought you didn't know Chinese or something like that," because they were scared to speak in English. Yeah, and it's like it wouldn't
Yeah.
help so much if you approached me last year, because we were in the same
Yeah.
course as well. So I think it helped. It got easier when the more you studied, and I think I also struggled a lot with my final year project because again I was like, you were the only person doing the whole thing, the whole software development life cycle, and you don't know who to ask. You don't have any like examples, So it was hard. But I think once I got out of it and then I actually started working is when I realized it's not at all like what they teach you. Like, I think that it can be different what like you study and what you actually do, and there's way more space to learn at at work. Like you can, even though there's like tight deadlines, but when you get in the beginning, you don't have that experience. There is way more, like there are people around you that you can question. There's senior developers, there are, other people who've already done the project. So there's, as long as you have like the courage, you to question, ask dumb questions, good enough. You just try and try and try, and you eventually make it. I think through my 3 years, I've learned so many different languages. I've done so many different kind of projects, whether it's websites and apps, two different things, whole different things. And I've gone through it. Every time I start a new project, I had that, oh, I don't think I can do it. I have no idea what this is. But every time I prove to myself I can. So I think the more you do that, the easier it becomes. Now, when there's something new to me, I do feel a little nervous, but it's more like, oh, I've done this before. I can do it again. And I can, if I can't, if there's something that bothers me, I can just ask this dumb question. Like no one will remember it. No one will remember that one dumb question you asked them. It's just in your head, right? Sometimes it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I've had that. I've had questions so many times where I don't understand like the very basic thing, but I don't even know how to Google it because I don't have the words to Google it. So I just ask like the person next to me, and then they answer it in such a casual way that they didn't even think about it. Like they didn't even think it was like a dumb question, and I'm just spending 3 hours mustering up the courage the entire day to ask them that question. So it does take
Yeah.
does take a while, but I think the more you experience and the more you do it, it becomes normal and it becomes easier. Yeah. So I think that now
Yeah.
I don't feel that feeling of not deserving it, even though I feel like there's a lot to improve in my skill set. There's a lot I can learn still, but it's not. I feel like I deserve where I am because of all the work I put in. So that's how I think about it.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing that your professor said, if you are already here, then you deserve to be here. Like that is, I needed to hear that quite a few times. And also, yeah, this thing that when you're working and you have to tackle a new project or anything that's new, and you feel like, oh, I don't know how to do this, and then you instantly think that you can't.
Yeah.
Just because you don't know doesn't mean that you cannot.
Yeah.
Yes, you still try and do it, and how you said, it just becomes easier after like project after project, where you don't feel like you can't as much as you did before. It's because that's what our brain wants. Our brain wants to challenge and wants us to challenge it and then break through the barriers and break through the new obstacles. And once we do that obstacle, our brain has the information that, oh, okay, I can do that. So then we're not scared of it anymore. It's not an obstacle anymore. It's just a thing.
Yeah. Just a
That
new
we did.
thing to go through.
Yeah, add to our collection of things that we can do.
Yeah.
I think one thing that I struggle with is, when I tackle a new thing, a new skill, or at work I do something, or even like in personal projects that I'm doing, I do something, and then, or like in my pro bono work that I do with a charity, and they give me a praise or they tell me, oh, you did well, or whatever. I'm always thinking, oh yeah, it's because it was easy. Like it wasn't anything special. It was just easy.
Yeah.
Right.
I also have that.
Or it wasn't as challenging as it seems, or it's not as challenging as they make it out to be, or as I made it out to be. I only did it because it was simple and easy, not hard.
Yeah.
So that is a strange mindset to have, that if you do something hard, if you do something that you found hard and scary, and you do it, you accomplish it, and then you tell yourself, oh, I did it, it's because it was easy, it wasn't challenging, so it's nothing special or nothing to be, proud about.
Yeah, I think
Do you have that?
I do. I do. I think every time I learn, like, because different projects, sometimes you need to work with new languages that you've not learned before. And every time first face a new language, I'm like, what the hell? How does this work? I have no idea why is this so different? Like, why can't I just write down that I want a red button anymore? Why is it asking me so many different things? So it's like, it's all new. It's also confusing, and you're like struggling throughout it. And at the end of the project, you are like completing one page in like one day rather than like spending for me, every time I start a new project, the first page I spend a week on it, but by the end of it I'm finishing like 2-3 pages in one day. And then I'm always like, instead of being like, oh, I achieved that by like, oh, working really hard and learning the language and excelling in it, I'm always like, oh, it was this easy from the beginning. It's just I didn't know it, and then it's actually easy for everyone else to do it as well. That's how I did think that in the beginning, but the more I think I think it's just your brain, like your brain tricks you into thinking you're not capable. So if it's something you can do, that means everyone can do it. But that's not true. We all know, like at the end of the day, we all know at the back of our head that it's not true. Just because you can do it, it does not mean it's easy. It would be hard for anyone else as well. And you kind of have to shut your brain down. Yeah, one more thing I always tell myself is that whatever my brain tells me does not mean it's true. Like, it's not facts just because my brain said
Yeah.
it, right? So I always try to, if I have like really uncalled for thoughts, I'm always like, is that true, or is that just my brain trying to like, I don't know, ruin my life or something, like protecting me from something? Because I do have so many uncalled for thoughts where I'm always like, yell, like, being bad to myself, and I'm like, no, I have to tell my brain to shut the hell up. So
Yeah,
you have to
those
train. You have to train your own
those
mind.
internal monologues that you have where your brain says something, you're like, what the hell, man? Why are you saying that?
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
uncalled for.
Yeah, you're like, shut up. Yeah, and also let's say that every single person on this planet knows how to do software development. Let's just imagine for a second that that they do, and they're all doing this challenging thing. At the end of the day, whether it was hard or easy, you still did it.
Yeah.
That's what I tell myself, like easy or hard or whatever. I still broke the barrier of, oh, I can't do it, you can't do it, and I still did it. And I'm only gonna move forward with that. Like, what's the point of thinking, oh, it was easy? So, kind of I've trying to like not get validation or approval that, oh, I'm good by like these things that I'm doing, because that's not where you can find it. Like, yeah, that's a process that I'm going through now.
I think one more thing that makes you really feel like that is because you compare. You compare to people around you that are already skilled in that one thing, or they're already like, they've already done it, they know how to do it, and you are the new one. But I think if you're like, I think that's not a healthy way to compare. Like, if you really compare like skills, like if you really want to compare skills, like let's say you can't help but compare yourself to like, if there's a doctor that's really skilled and they compare themselves to you, there's no way, you can achieve the same thing they did unless you go through all that they've done. So you need to think about it the same way. Like, if you really compare yourself to yourself before you started this thing, and then that you've already went through the whole thing, you've achieved it, and anyone else who wants to achieve the same thing might also have to go through a similar process. And everyone who has already achieved the same thing has also been through a similar process. So it's not easy. No one skipped through it. Everyone had to go through it. It's just they've already done it, and it's just different timelines.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think comparison is really something that affects, like, this, makes this kind of thoughts like more prominent. I think you just need to learn how to not compare yourself to others.
Yeah, that. Thank you. You're not my therapist. Stop it. No, yeah, you're so right, and I think that comparison is just that's one thing that if I ever have children, that is one thing I will never ever do to them, where I tell them, oh, look at this person and look at you.
Yeah, because
that's where
brown people just do it. Yeah, my parents.
It's just like it's second nature to us. Yeah. But you're right. I remember in primary school, when we did track and field, I did a few like running events, and I can't remember his name, but you know that teacher who always used to wear gym clothes and shorts, and
Oh
he
yeah,
had a
yeah,
whistle around him.
yeah. What was his name?
Yeah, I can't.
I think Mr. No, no,
S-
no. I just remember his
Ch-
nickname.
what
Yeah,
was
and
it?
it was Chaddi Master. I think that's what we called him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He used to wear
Because he just
shorts all the
always had shorts on. Yeah,
time.
yeah. I remember him saying to us, like, you know, when it's like ready on your marks, set, go, never look at the people next to you. Never ever. It's just gonna slow you down. Like you look straight ahead. As soon as it's go, you start running as fast as you can, but don't look left and right because it will slow you down. Because you just need to focus on trying to get to the finish line yourself. So yeah, and I saw this clip the other day. It was this another coach who was saying that he was coaching this little girl, and out of 19 racers, she came 18th, and she was crying about it. And he was like, "Well, yes, you came 18th if you compare yourself with other people, but look at your timings. Yesterday you were 19 seconds slower. Today you were 19 seconds faster." So then the next time you race, you have to be 18 seconds faster, 17 seconds. Just try and get faster and faster, and just compare yourself to your own record, not anyone else's. And it just to say this, it's like, yeah, of course, it's obvious. It's so easy to understand. It makes perfect sense. But to do it is, yeah, it is
you
it's
have
harder.
you have to keep reminding yourself. Have to keep reparenting
Yeah.
yourself every time. Every time you go through something where you really want to be somewhere, it's like just normal to compare yourself to people that have already done it, or that are doing better side by like, but they started at the same time or something. But I think it's
Mm,
not it's not healthy for you, and it doesn't help you achieve whatever you want to achieve any faster. I think it's just,
yeah.
yeah, because you're not comparing yourself to what you did and how you can improve. You are comparing it to someone else who might have done it in other ways or struggled differently, right? So it doesn't really help, and I think you need to really focus on what would help you.
Yeah. Yeah. So now that you're working, what, 3 years into this field, for those wanting to work in this field, especially as an ethnic minority, what kind of advice or what kind of roadmap would you offer to them in order to get into this field?
I think for this field, it's very important to you. It's very important to prove your skills. So it's not as like it's not. I don't know if you've heard about it, but it's not as important to have a degree in computer science that or a degree in something rather than having like you had like there are a lot of people who only went through high school, but they had like a lot of like projects they've done, or they had a lot of they had ways to like show their skill set, but they're also like now in the tech field. Tech is not something that you require degree for, like some other like some other fields, for example, law or for example, engineering. You might require a degree for those, but tech is something you really need to prove your skill set. So it's similar to a graphic design in that sense. You kind of have to show your employer that this is what I can do. These are the skills I have, and to do that, you really need to learn those skills, right? So you can learn that through either a degree. Let's say you do a degree, that's how you learn it, or you can also start earlier, like in high school. You can start by going on, there's so many resources online. You can learn by going on like the very popular W3C, or like anything actually. There's so many websites and resources online where they teach you how to code from scratch. And I would recommend to anyone who's want to tap into this field to start from the basic HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Like that's the basic one, but it can get you, that's like the foundation. It can get you to learn different languages way easily because you already know how it works. And yeah, I think once you start learning, don't just re-study it. I think you really need to apply it. So you need to actually start and do projects where you use these skills and have like, for example, with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, I would recommend you actually create a website with all the page, like all the home page, about page, all the different things you've learned, and you can. It's also a way to practice your skills that you've learned, but it's also a way to show to your future potential employer that, oh, these are the skills I have learned, and this is how I can use them. So it's like a kind of way to show your skills, like a showcase of your project. So that's what I would recommend to anyone who wants to start in this field. And I think way before you get into the degree in your high school, if you're already interested, you can already go online and learn the skills and pick them up first.
Yeah, it's a very practical skill and you need a portfolio. So if you
Yeah,
go into graphic designing, art, you're going to have to show your portfolio what you've,
yeah,
designed before. It's very similar to marketing. Like
yeah,
you don't have to, there are marketing psychology and basics and foundational knowledge about marketing and communications, but you can also teach yourself that.
yeah,
So you can go to the big old YouTube university,
yeah,
or there are so many websites. Like I think Code Academy was one that I was
yeah.
recommended to by a colleague of mine. So if you're in school, if you're in university and thinking of pivoting to a new course, or you're in a professional career right now that's not software development and you want to get into this, just go online and get the basics
Yeah.
and down, and then start creating, just start doing.
Yeah, I think if you're someone who can study by yourself and learn by yourself and like
Yeah.
be a disciplined person and have that kind of timeline, I think it's a good way to go online and learn it. But if you do need to sit in a school in university, you do need to sit down and learn
Yeah.
from someone else. There's also options for that. You can take the computer science degree and go through college of 4 years. Or now, I think boot camps are really popular. So there's boot camps
Mm.
for web design. There's camps for web development, app development, like very specific boot camps where you don't have to learn everything, but you can focus on something that you're interested in and you want to continue. So if there's someone who just wants to learn web development rather for their own website, let's say, like for their own business, or if you want to only get into web or app development, there's boot camps that are maybe like 3 to 4 months or 6 months long, where they teach you everything, and at the end of it, you have to finish a project that you can also show to your potential employer. Those things exist now. There's quite many in Hong Kong. I'm sure there's quite many all around the world, and some of them are even online. So I think that's also something you people could look into if they're interested in getting into the field.
Yeah. What is your most favorite and least favorite favorite thing about being a software developer?
Okay, so I think I like creating. So I love when the page is blank, like it's blank, and I get a design, and that's what now I have to make it. I'm a perfectionist, so I love like adjusting the button to just the right spot, and like having the perfect navigation bar. I love copying the design and creating something new, but and that's literally my favorite part. I love like when the screen shows the things I'm writing. Like I love it. I love that it's coming together, and it's like now I can scroll it. Now like people can click onto it. Now people can actually use it. I love it when it's like out on the streets and people can actually go on it and experience everything I've coded. And that's basically my favorite part. I think my least favorite part is when you're done and you have to test and you have to fix the bugs. That's annoying because a lot of the time, yeah,
That's like, oh, you're like, oh, I'm not there yet.
yeah.
Now you have to fix this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
about like I don't hate it, but it's not my favorite part.
Mm.
Like I don't prefer to
Yeah.
do that. I just want to complete it and be done and over with it. A lot of the times you're working with other developers on the same projects, and when you're testing, the bugs are not from you but are from them, and it can get
Yeah.
it can get a little annoying because it's like this was so easy. Why did you have to like create so many bugs for this page? Because
Mm.
people work in different ways. Some people are perfect, like they want to perfect everything. Some people are like, let me just complete it first, then I'll test it and fix it.
Yeah.
So if you work with different kinds of people, it can get a little annoying in the testing stage. I also don't enjoy maintenance a lot, especially if like it's everything is set up and you just have to move a little bit of like something or hide a little bit of something. It can get boring.
Mm,
Not that I hate it, but it can get a little like repetitive and boring. I love when it's new and
yeah,
there's new challenges and like pages blank and I get to create something on it. It's like a canvas,
yeah,
painting on a canvas. You would prefer painting your own like new thing rather than fixing someone else's painting, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So now that you're in a job that you enjoy, you're 3 years in again. What is your hope, for the future, in this career field, and where do you envision that it will take you? Are you gonna ever start your own startup, maybe, or
Yeah, I
yeah,
have had those thoughts. I think right now I'm like still thinking about where I want to go. I don't have like a decisive path ahead. So I'm like in that in between. Oh, I've like done all this. Now I'm like in the comfortable phase. So I'm enjoying the comfortable phase, and like if when it gets a bit stable, I'm the type of person who starts getting like different ideas. So like I'm like, oh, how about if I aim for a tech startup, or what if I go like for what if I where do I want to go ahead? I'm still thinking about it. I think I do enjoy what I've done so far. So it's not there's nothing set in stone, but I think I'm open to new things, and that I'll see where it goes. Yeah.
yeah, yeah? You're in that
Yeah.
place where everything is going well, and you're
Yeah.
just seeing what comes
Yeah.
your way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Yeah, okay. Um, yeah, are there any, so because, I do have a lot of people listening in from Hong Kong. Are there any specific, not barriers, but some obstacles that, kids in secondary school right now are thinking, oh, I'm gonna go and do English and just become a teacher? For those who we might want to give them another option, so you can do software development. Maybe they'll have questions about what languages are being used in the workplace or in the exams. Is there a lot of Chinese being used? If they are not as good as well versed in Chinese, and they might look for something like where they can use English. I'm just saying, I'm just trying to ask what kind of specific advice or specific kind of like hindsight advice would you want to give to ethnic minorities kids who are thinking of another option to just English?
I think if you want to go, like if you want to enter this field, one good thing about it is that coding is a universal language. So you don't really need to know Chinese to code. It's a universal language. Everyone around the world uses the same language to code. It's just it depends on the system or like basically the software you're developing, and languages depend on that, but it's pretty universal with regards to how people would code in one language, right? So you don't really have to know how to read and write in Cantonese. It's not as important, even in like local startups. I would say it's not important, but but once again, because we are living in Hong Kong, it is another country. There are a lot of like local Chinese people around you, and software development is not a solo thing. Like when you work in a company, you do work in a team, so you have to know how to speak it. At least I wouldn't say you need to be very fluent in it, but you do have to be able to speak it in a sense that you understand requirements, you can ask questions, and you can communicate with your team members. So it is important to learn Cantonese, but if let's say you are already out there and there are still some international companies that might not have that requirement as well, but of course the options would be much more limited because it is a Chinese country, a Chinese city. So
Yeah,
yeah, so I think reading and writing maybe not as important, but I still would encourage anyone.
speaking is,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, it is important, I think.
important.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, communication skills is important in
yeah,
any
yeah,
field. So you need to be able to have good level of speaking
yeah.
in Cantonese, so you can communicate with your colleagues. And Yeah, maybe you could even leave Hong Kong with this skill that you can do software development.
Yeah, I think it's one
Or
good thing
if you
about,
don't have the means.
yeah, it's one good
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that you can like work in different countries. You don't have to like software development is actually like really helpful in that sense. Like if you ever migrate to another country, or if you want to work from somewhere else, or you want to work remote, I think software development is something that you
Yeah.
can definitely do elsewhere
Yeah,
as well.
you don't have to leave Hong Kong even. There are
Yeah,
so
yeah,
many
remote jobs.
companies working entirely online. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, so that's great. That's awesome. Hopefully, a lot more people will be interested in software development. Hopefully, they won't get scared with all the codings,
yeah,
and we'll just take your advice on it. That
yeah.
yeah, it's hard in the beginning, but once you know that it's a different language,
I think for
it's going to open up doors.
I think for programming languages, again, I would tell people to learn the basics first, because honestly, every year there's like a new language. Every system has a different language, so it's really hard to like give exact like names out. Right now I'm using React Native.
Mm.
That's trending right now in Hong Kong, but it maybe next year there will be something else. So it's the best thing is to be really good at your foundations. Do like for object oriented like back end stuff, learn Java, like go to like the basics, and then for front end do HTML, CSS, JavaScript, etc. I think once you have solid foundations, and when you actually start looking for jobs, then you decide whether you want to do web development, and you find out what technologies are in trend or our companies are using right now for web development. So that's how you usually decide. Because for me, in my first job and my second jobs, the tech stack I used was quite different. Uh, so just focusing on one would not be a very good idea, because it's always changing. You can see how fast even AI is advancing, so you can tell like the languages are always improving and changing for the system, like for in software development.
Yeah. So just as long as you know the foundational skills, you can always build on them. Yeah. So that's that for software development, but that's not all you do. You also have an Instagram account for traveling and crafting as well, uh, which is called at Adventures with Aman. That's right, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, so what was the idea behind this project? What was the motivation? Why did you want to go into content creation about traveling and, craft things that interest you, or that the craft projects that you do on your page?
So in the beginning, I didn't really started with content creation in mind. Like in the beginning, I'm the type of person who loves jumping around different hobbies and learning different things. If you ask my mom would say that she can't sit still. Like I just love learning about new things, new hobbies, and like, um, dipping my toes in this and that. I think that's how it began. I was just doing everything, and I was like, I want to record this and share this. And for travel, it's just something I've always wanted to do. When I was in high school and primary school, I always had this kind of wanderlust. I was like, I need to travel. As soon as I'm 18, I'm flying, I'm going away. I even like groomed my parents into it, because I'm a brown girl, right? So my parents, there's going to be like issues with them making me
Groomed my parents into it.
yeah, I had to like, step by step tell them how much I wanted, and tell them, oh, that girl is traveling, that person is traveling. So I had to like kind of groom them and make them feel like it's okay. And eventually I could. Like I was just really into it always. And I was also really into capturing like anything I do. Like I love taking pictures. I love recording and just capturing anything. I walk across the road, I see a fallen flower, I have to take a picture. That's just how I've always been. I don't remember where it began. I've just always like love noticing beauty and capturing it. And I think I just put the two together, like two things I enjoy, I just put it together, and that's how I started creating like travel videos and content. And I just started posting it. In the beginning, it was like kind of all over the place. I would just share anything and everything I'm doing. Hence the name Adventures with Aman. That like anything I'm doing, I was just sharing, because I was taking adventures and stepping out of my comfort zone. But eventually, like the more you do it, you see like people enjoy a certain type of videos more than the other, and then you get into that. Um, you get then you actually start like creating content and trying to like do it in a better way, like trying to improve your skills in it. Like in the beginning, there was nothing about like how well I want to do it. It was just about sharing. But now, the more like I post, and the more like I have people who are into the same things, they want to see what I post. I want to upskill myself in content creation. I want to do better. I want to make better videos. I think it's also it's also a hobby, I would say, but a more long term one. I want to make like better videos and just upskill myself in it. So yeah, it was like some things I enjoy, and I just put it together, and then I started this account.
So even now, when you go traveling or you do some weekend trips around Hong Kong and things like that, do you plan to do the plan as in obviously you plan to go and do those things, but do you think this is how I'm gonna record and this is how I'm gonna put it up online, or do you just go experience it, record the experience, and then later on present it in that way on your Instagram page?
Do the latter. I go for the experience because it's something I've always been wanting to do. I actually have like a collection on Instagram where I save like all the things in Hong Kong that I really want to go and see by myself. Like I want to see that view in person. So I just pick like one of the locations, and then I go there, I experience it, and of course, if I love it, I have to record it, and I just put it together and then I share it. Of course, with content creation, I think if you really want to take it to the next level, you do have to do some sort of planning. I think I'm trying to add more of that element in, where I do plan to record or plan certain activities eventually. But like mostly it works as this is something I already want to do. I want to go there anyway, and I have to capture something I'm enjoying, so I just put it together
Yeah,
later. Yeah.
it's still just a hobby that that
Yeah.
could be monetized, or you can monetize it, but it's still very much just your hobby that you want to enjoy.
I think
Yeah,
whenever I think of monetizing it, the fun is gone. Like for
yeah,
me, the fun is it sucks the fun out of it. There's way more planning and way more structure to it you have to do.
yeah,
And also with my full time job, I think it's harder to plan and execute things the way exactly I want them. It's more random. Like suddenly I'm free on this day and I'll go. Of course, if you do want to monetize it, there's ways to do it, but I think it's not like my goal with content creation. My goal is more
yeah,
essentially, I think when people come across my videos or come across my account, I want to inspire them rather than anything else. Like I want to inspire them to either like stop and notice things around them. I want them to stop and notice the beauty in their immediate surroundings, whether it's like a water droplet after the rain on the grass, or like a fallen flower, or that one child building sand castles in the sand when you're at the beach. That's what I want to like kind of inspire. And I also want to inspire people to like get up from their beds, tie their shoelaces, and explore. Whether it's like in their neighborhood, there's so many hidden gems that's right around like my neighborhood that you wouldn't know unless you had that. Oh, I want to go out and explore and just walk around and find out, right? So I think that's the two things I essentially want people to feel when they come on my account. I don't think I'm anywhere near that yet. Hopefully one day. I think my focus is currently on like upskilling myself, creating content in a better way to have that kind of framing that I want it to be. And eventually, if I start doing, I start getting better at it, and there's possible chances to monetize, of course, I wouldn't mind that. But like, that's not the goal for me.
and I also I'm a champion of keeping your hobbies, like you don't have to monetize everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just turning everything about earning money and all of that just turns everything into a very transactional type of thing, and
Yeah.
there's just a lot of pressure behind it. And if there's opportunities where you can take it to the next level, sure, you can try it, but there's no pressure behind it.
Yeah. I think
Yeah, it's kind of sort of the same thing.
I think it's for
Carry
me.
on.
It's very. I'm very open with where it is. So if any opportunity comes along, I'll be open to explore it. So, but it's not. There's nothing. Again, it's nothing is set in stone with it either. It's just currently I'm just trying to upskill myself and do better, like make better content and
Yeah.
make better videos. Yeah.
Yeah. They're already really good.
Well,
So
thank you.
yeah, really entertaining.
They're much better than my first video I posted. So I am improving. I can see that.
Of course, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the mindset that I'm adopting about my own podcast. You know, it used to be a very like hobby oriented thing, and then people started talking about, oh, you're gonna have a big podcast, you're gonna monetize it, get sponsors and things like that. And yeah, so what I was saying is like now I'm like, no, this is my hobby. It brings me joy to talk to mainly my friends about things that they want to talk about and things that they want to share, and it just I'm just treating it like a hobby, nothing more, nothing less. But yeah,
times where you compared yourself with other podcasters? Because I've had that with content creation.
yeah, of course. And the way I used to compare is I was like, there's nothing to even compare because mine is just not even, it was kind of negative because I wasn't even like, oh no, mine is different, I shouldn't compare. It's like, no, there's nothing to compare because there is 100 and mine is like level 1. So and you can listen to my old podcast, like, oh my god, the sound quality, the way I'm speaking, everything.
Like I enjoyed them, so I wouldn't say that.
Oh, thank you so much. But of course, like, because I'm working on it, I'm gonna have like find a million flaws in it. But yeah, I'm still proud of, now I'm proud of all the work I did, like not knowing anything about podcasting, recording, editing, and just trying to find ways to make it happen. Like, I'm proud of myself for that. So, and now I'm just kind of like collecting, people left and right, like whoever talks to me, one or two sentences later, I'm like, do you want to be on my podcast? Because that's the only way I can keep it going. And also with full-time job and everything, I've just kind of made it a target to release at least once a month, hopefully. I think that's the target now. To do with my content creation, like I have to create to be good at it, right? If I don't create, I won't be better at it. Yeah. But like, every time I said like, oh, I need to post every 2 times a week with the work. But like with a full-time job, it gets harder to even do even that. So I'm trying to be lenient with myself, and I'm trying not to compare myself to people who post on a daily basis. It can be hard, but then I realize like my goals are different, right? They might have different goals. My goals exactly. And it's fun. Yeah. As long as it's fun. Like it wouldn't be fun if I forced myself to do it. Yeah, exactly. Like the only reason I'm like kind of gotten into this like big inspiration cycle again, where I'm like working on my podcast and like writing again, it's because I've brought the fun back. I'm not putting any like external pressures onto myself. So yeah. One thing I wanted to ask, like you talked about finding unexplored places in Hong Kong and explored gems and stuff. How do you find them? Do you just walk around and just, come across them, or I have done that. Do you do a little bit of research? Around, okay. So around my neighborhood, there's like I because I go on walks a lot. Sometimes I go with my mom. Sometimes I go with my friends. So when you're like, it gets boring if you walk the same route all the time. So sometimes I just take a different route and I go somewhere and I'm like, oh, there's a crossroads. I have not been to that side before. And then I just kind of keep it in my mind and I come back, I like Google map it, come back another day. I think one of the ways I do explore, like people explore usually by Googling. Like if they go on Google, they're like, oh, hidden gems around me, or places to visit around me. That's not what I do, because if you can Google it, everyone knows about it, right? What I do is I go on Google Maps, I zoom in places that look interesting, and then I click around and look at the pictures and I see if it's something worth exploring. So that's one of the ways I try to explore hidden gems. And I also, of course, I use, because it is Hong Kong, if there are any hidden gems, I'm sure people have explored it already at least once or twice, but they might be in Cantonese. So I do try to search around with the language rather than in English.
And that's also it has helped me a lot because there are places like I'm sure there are Hong Kongers that also love exploring hidden gems and they have already posted about it. Maybe they posted a picture and that's how I find a place and I'm like I have to go there because it just looks out of the world. There's so many places I've been to. I'm like I would not have believed this is Hong Kong if I had not been there. So it's fun that side.
That's how
Yeah.
I feel. That's how I feel about, when you post and I'm like, is this Hong Kong? Because it just doesn't look like
Yeah,
Hong Kong.
I love it.
And
Like
yeah,
I love Hong
yeah.
Kong in the sense that I know it's a city, everything is convenient. I love like the tall buildings are the main thing people know about Hong Kong. But I personally love like the rural, the village, and like the older side of it. I love like exploring the green parts of it. I love going somewhere and meeting like an old lady selling who's selling drinks from her own house. Like I've had those
Hmm.
experiences where this like I met this lady when I was in Trensau Island and she was just making drinks at her house, making different kinds of teas, and anyone who's walking by her, it's a kind of a hike. So by the time anyone walks by her house, they're already sweating and they are craving a drink. So it's like, yeah, you walk past her, she'll be standing at her, yeah,
Smart
she's standing at
businesswoman.
her balcony and
Yeah.
she's like, do you want this tea? This tea helps like with cooling your body down and all that. And you get the tea, you get to talk to
Mm.
her, and that's how like you just ask her, oh, how long have you been here and all that. I love those experiences. Like it's not just about like greenery or like finding places and then taking a picture and going home. It's more about like, oh, people live here, there's natives here, they've been like, this is a
Yeah.
new place for me, but they've been here for 20, 30 years. This old lady has lived in Chenzhou for her entire life. She's the last one there. Her children
Mm.
are abroad, and she still loves living there. She's like, this is my place. She just knows it from the back of her hand. And sometimes you can ask them about hidden gems, and they'll know way more than any other person, any explorer could tell you. So I think it's those experiences that I also want to eventually record and be able to incorporate in my content creation. I'm still exploring different ways to do it, but yeah, I
Yeah.
just love exploring different cultures and finding stories in places I go. I think that's what I try to do.
Thank you so much for coming, saying yes, and coming onto my podcast and sharing all your experiences and all your work. Everything that you're doing is really inspiring and really amazing. And I just hope that you keep doing it and keep growing. And can't wait to see what else you bring. So that was our episode with Aman. I really hope you enjoyed it and I hope you took some valuable advice from it and some inspiration from it. And don't forget to support Aman's travel account at Adventures with Aman. I'll share that all on my Instagram. And if you're listening on Spotify, there is a comment section just under the episode. So don't forget to leave your thoughts and feedback. And you can send me your thoughts and feedback on Instagram as well. Just don't send me any death threats, please. And yeah, subscribe to the podcast, follow the Instagram account, and we'll see you very soon on a new episode. I'll start posting about it, and I think that's going to be a bit like a spicy, interesting episode because we're going to talk about alpha males. So yeah, stay tuned for that. And I just want to say huge thank you to every single person who listens to my podcast. It really does mean a lot, genuinely. This is my hobby. This is something I really like doing. I really enjoy doing. I just don't have the time to just commit to it, but I am trying. So yeah, I just really want to thank people who are still coming and still investing their time and still telling me what they think about it. It's just means the world to me, and I'll try my best to come out with new episodes every month. I can't do every week, but every month is something that I can go for. So yeah, thank you so much and stay tuned for the next one.